My name's Carolyn Morgan. After this event, you can follow me on @CarolynRMorgan on Twitter. I am tweeting around the event at the moment. My background, for those who don't know me, is in publishing, largely at EMAP, where I worked across print, digital and events. I launched the Specialist Media Show in 2010, and last year I sold that to an organisation called SIIA, which is a US-based trade association for media and technology firms. Stands for the Software Information Industry Association. So what I do now is I run live and online events for their European members, which is where I met Fergus and where we had the first version of this session. I also advise publishers on digital strategy on an individual basis. I think I might be allowed a very quick plug. Our next conference is on the 8th of April, the Digital Media Innovation Conference. Focuses on a panel, actually. We've also got speakers from Immediate, from Incisive, from EMAP, from Elsevier, from RBI, many different companies. So, that's pretty interesting. If you follow me on Twitter @CarolynRMorgan, you can learn more about that. So that's the end of the plug. We're here really to talk about advertising, and particularly to migrating advertising from print to digital. So Fergus is the MD of advertising at Lloyd's List, part of Informa. And a couple of years ago, they made the decision that they wanted to sort of move their business totally from print to digital. So it took them quite a long time to make that transition, but I think in December last year, they finally stopped printing the magazine. So he's been involved in managing that transition from advertisers spending money on print to actually spending money on digital without actually losing the revenue along the way. I think that's quite an interesting transition. It's one that I know a lot of other publishers are kind of grappling with. So I'm going to shut up now and let Fergus talk through his experiences, and then we'll have some time for questions afterwards.
Thank you, Carolyn. The sound level's all right. My mother was a drama teacher and taught me to project, which plays havoc with microphones, so you might see me walk forwards and backwards depending on how loud this is. I'm going to talk for about 10 or 15 minutes now, generally 15 minutes for those that have heard me talk before, and then we'll have some Q&As afterwards. I've been asked here today to talk through some of the experiences and some of the insights we found through taking one of the world's oldest media brands digital only. It was a really exciting time, actually, and still is a really exciting time for Lloyd's List. And I'm responsible for advertising and the whole of advertising at the division of Informa in which Lloyd's List is produced. My story today is going to focus specifically on the journey we took with our advertising partners, and we do see them as advertising partners, not customers. And effectively how our sales team managed in 2 sometimes very short, sometimes very long years, depending on how I look back at it, managed to change the way the best part of an entire industry marketed itself. So you're going to know whether any of this is applicable, useful, relevant for your business. If we get to the end and none of it's relevant to your business, I hope you'll have liked the story anyway. So I'm going to start off by catching up with my slides and to talk a little bit about what Lloyd's List is. So we were founded in 1734 and we started life as a notice pinned to a coffee shop wall here in London. We provide effectively the same service for our customers. Sorry about that, got some feedback from my projecting. We provide effectively the same service for our customers that we provided then, at its core. We provide ship owners and operators in the global shipping market the information that they need in order to spot opportunities and threats to their business, and therefore make decisions off the back of that. And there's a mix on this slide: news that matters, data in context, competitor analysis, market intelligence. But you go back to 1734 and what we were fulfilling for that audience of ship owners is pretty much the same. Technology's changed, however, in that time, of course. Lloyd's List has changed significantly. There's one of our more recent publications. I think that was in the 1850s, that one on there. You can see there's loads of lovely advertising in there. I didn't sell any of that. We And shipping has changed dramatically. The centre of global commercial shipping has moved from London and is now spread across the world and increasingly in the Far East. And so had our subscriber base. So Lloyd's List has evolved. We're now a high-value subscription publication. And being a high-value subscription publication, our readers expect to be able to get at that information instantly. And so we're now available in any shipping hub across the world, indeed in any coffee shop across the world that you choose via our digital services. What all that great information that we're providing has done is it's also provided an audience. And for centuries, we have been the key conduit for an entire market to advertise their services to these ship owners and operators. But if we rewind back 2 years when I was asked to come and manage this project, we had a bit of a challenge, or as one of my more mild-mannered salespeople put it, we were in a bit of a pickle. All of our advertising at that point pretty much was in print, and our advertisers were completely in control of the market. We had some amazing relationships with those advertisers, but those relationships were based on familiarity. They were based on the fact that they really liked us, so they would set budget aside for us. What those relationships were not based on was results. And it was becoming increasingly hard for us to justify those results when you add in a second dynamic. Most of our subscribers were now consuming our media online, and very few were consuming it in print. So if you extrapolate that out, we've got all of our advertisers over here in print, and we've got all of our subscribers over here online, or the vast majority of them at the time. If we kept going down that particular route, by the time I'd be stood in here telling you about how basically we'd managed to engineer a product that didn't have a commercial reason for being. Not from an advertiser's perspective anyway, because all of our subscribers would be in one place online, and all of our advertisers would still be happily placing pictures in our newspaper. So something needed to change, and change it did. It boiled down to one thing really. We had to teach our customers how to get results from Lloyd's List once again. Centuries ago, I don't know when we first started taking advertising, but if you look at the 1850s up there, we had somebody somewhere had educated our customers that placing pictures and notices in Lloyd's List would get them results. They would sell more stuff as a result. They would engage customers better. But what we hadn't done a very good job of was actually educating them how to get those results from where our subscribers now were, where our audience now was, which was consuming our digital product. They were all online. So that's what we needed to do. It did feel like this at some point, but I'm not going to go into this slide. So if we were to embark on a teaching project, and that's effectively what this was. This was a project to teach our customers how to get results from us again. We needed to start with the teachers. Only in this case, they weren't teachers, they were a sales team. And I mentioned earlier, they had a fantastic relationship with their customers. They knew their shoe sizes, they knew how many kids they had, they knew everything that you were taught as a salesperson, certainly when I started in the business, to do. You knew everything about your customers, and you could get on with them, you could build rapport with them. But that presented us with a challenge. And on the slide here, you can see some research from a company called SIIA, or the results of that research. And we were made aware of this about the same time, and there were some interesting parallels with Lloyd's List. Our relationship builders were finding it really difficult to get our customers, or to advise our customers on the changes that were happening within our audience. They were finding it really difficult for our customers, because our customers were used to placing advertising in print, and therefore saw the value of advertising in print, and had done it forever. They were familiar with that. And our relationship builders found it really, really difficult to challenge our customers to think differently. And it seems we weren't alone. So this research that CEB did, and was brought to my attention by Flume Training, in fact, who we're competing with inadvertently. They're speaking in another theatre. Did some research over several hundred media companies. And you can read all about this in Matthew Dixon's book, The Challenger Sale, as well. I should give them a plug, I'm using their slide. this research was done a couple of years ago, and what they found was that although relationship builders were still good and it was great that you could build relationships with people, they were faring less well in terms of sales performance across lots and lots of B2B sales companies than salespeople who showed other types of traits. And the highest performing salespeople were what they term the challenger salespeople, and not challenging in a confrontational way, but challenging in a teaching way, challenging in an inspiring way. In fact, these challenger salespeople were showing the exact traits that I needed my team to show if we were going to shift all of those print advertisers who liked us from a relationship based upon we like you and we think we should be placing pictures in your newspaper, to a relationship based upon tangible results, helping them improve their businesses. And some of those traits were these. A challenger salesperson always has a different view of the world. They understand the customer's business, not necessarily the customer themselves. They love to debate, and they'll push and they'll teach the customer. So, in order to create a relationship based upon results with our advertisers, rather than a relationship based upon familiarity, we set upon a project. And it started with this quote. I don't know whether it's cricket actually to quote yourself, but I've got a captive audience, so I'm going to quote myself anyway. This is what we said at our first kickoff meeting for this. Our audience is already online, because they were. The only way we know we can generate results is online. It's vital that we challenge our customers to do the right thing, and in fact, we do them a disservice if we do not convince them to invest in our digital solutions. This obviously played really well with the relationship builders. They wanted to continue that relationship with their customers. But we then needed to teach them how. So the first thing we did was we changed the way we targeted our team. Okay, they were targeted on overall revenue, and they went exactly to where that overall revenue was most easy to get, as you would as a salesperson. That's what I would do as a salesperson. So we targeted the team and we incentivized them in addition to their targets on digital conversion. So we actually invested in taking our customers on this journey. We invested in making sure that our salespeople were recommending that our customers did the right thing, which was to advertise online. However, we didn't just throw the money at them. We set them an aggressive timescale within which to achieve this. We knew we had just one more renewal cycle to convince the vast majority of our customers to move their spend online. And so we had a lot of work to do in quite a short space of time. So we invested in specialist training. I mentioned Flume. We got them on board, and Raoul got the tightest brief I think he's ever got, which was, we need to make it digital, help. And we trained them and we consistently coached them. So we changed the way our entire management team approached the way that they coached. We changed the way our entire sales team approached the sale. And I'll come on to some of how we did that in a moment. We trained them not in digital advertising sales training, which is what everyone was asking for. We need to know more about digital. They didn't need to know more about digital. They needed to know more about how to teach customers to do something different. So this would be relevant if you're taking a product digital only, or whether you're trying to change their mind about just doing different activities with you. We needed to teach our salespeople how to teach the customers. So we supported them there. We gave them insight and knowledge to move the conversation completely away from format, and focus on results. How will we get the best results for you, Mr. Customer? Mr. Advertising Partner, I should say. And we changed the sales team's objectives. We set objectives that meant that they were tested and had to become experts in their audience. Experts in how their audience made buying decisions, yeah, that's part of the course. We actually target them, and we set them objectives within their appraisals on knowing how individual groups of customers actually use our services online, and therefore how best the advertising messages can be placed in front of those users. We've also tasked them in becoming experts in how our subscribers react to different marketing messages, so they can advise the customers now on the marketing messages that they should be placing to the different groups of customers within our audience that they want to reach, so that they're more likely to get the best results. And we gave them the objective that on every call They didn't need to sell something because they weren't selling something on every call anyway. I've not come across a salesperson yet, and if there is a salesperson that can sell something on every call, I will have a vacancy for you. We targeted them on teaching the customer something new on every call. And here's one of those things. Kudos points to anyone who can tell me what Greek football team that is. This is an example of a piece of insight that we generated, that our sales team actually lead to customers, and this is specifically we lead to customers who are what we would call digital detractors, so people who don't want to listen to digital advertising sales conversations. They know what they like and they like print, so get out of my office if you're not going to sell me that. This is how we get those people to listen to us, or one of the ways in which we do. So we lead with this piece. I'll start with the anecdote that we lead with. So a couple of years ago, this is a Greek football team, by the way, and it's owned by one of our subscribers. Greek ship owners are flamboyant. They are hugely lucrative for our advertisers. They're a market that our advertisers want to target. And I came across a little bit of research that had been done by one of the agencies in our area, in our market, into not only Greek ship owners, but also ship owners from other non-English language countries, okay, where English language isn't the first country. And although we know that these guys love Lloyd's List, I've been to Greece and I've had many hugs telling me how great our product is. And although we know they're engaged with our content, and this research showed that they were fine with it being in English, because it's all in English. They were absolutely fine with that. In fact, some of them were actually even proud to be reading business publications that were relevant for them in English. That's brilliant. The kicker is that this research also found that they're actually actively turned off by advertising messages that are presented on that same website to them in English. Turned off by the advertising message. So you're a global advertiser in our market and you are placing English language advertising on an English language website, and you're pissing your customers off. Okay, so there's a problem there. That's not enough to go to market with though. We needed some stats to back this up. And I'd prefer a slightly more positive approach because I'm a positive person. So we looked at our stats. We looked back over 2 years of the digital advertising that we've been serving by that point. And we came across something stark and startling and absolutely brilliant. In English-speaking countries, so where English is the first language, our advertising that we were serving, all of it in English, was getting up to 3 times higher click-through rate than that very same campaign in countries where English wasn't the first business language. Okay, so we looked at the UK, we looked at America, but this was true in India as well, and it was true in Australia, and it was true in Ghana even. Small subscriber base, but 3 times higher average CTR. So we had something to go to market with. So our salespeople don't go in leading with product anymore. They say they're from Lloyd's List, of course, it opens doors. They say, look, I want to talk to you today about how you can make your advertising work up to 3 times better for you. Not mentioning product, not mentioning format. And they tell everyone that anecdote. It's a well-trodden anecdote. Told much better by my salespeople, I have to say. They lead with that insight, and it's not until they come to the point of, after finding out which countries that the company's finding most difficult with communicating with, and which countries this kind of, if they could make local language advertising, what a difference that might make to their business. Only then do they recommend that they advertise with Lloyd's List and take one of our premium solutions, which is geo-targeting local language messages. We'll even make the adverts for them. We've still not mentioned format at this point, because guess what? The only way you can do this is online, so the format becomes a moot point. So they take all of their print investment, and I've seen this happen on many occasions. They take that print investment that they were making with us and they move it wholeheartedly digital, because we've proven a solution that will actually make a difference to their business. And we've run loads of these now, hundreds of these campaigns in the last year or two since we came up with this, and they're all getting higher CTRs, so I love being right as well. It's nice. We communicate that through our service, which I think is our other USP. Just doing a time check. Good, excellent. This is something that is a USP that we've developed over the last couple of years that I think is actually a true USP. It's got nothing to do with audience and numbers. People switch off. There's nothing unique about numbers or audience. It's a really competitive market, this. Yes, we've got more ship owners than anybody else reading our product, but that's not really a USP. This USP helps marketers go back to their business and get more budget. That's what we aim to do. That's what we want to do. It teaches marketers along the way, helps them become the best marketers they can be, and then they can go back to their business and go and ask for more money because they can prove that this is working. So yes, we send out weekly stat reports. Everybody does that. That's brilliant. But we've just invested huge amounts of time and energy in training our salespeople to become experts in the way that our audience is engaged with our product. They become experts in the way that our audience responds to adverts. And so in campaigns that are running, and these are generally more longer running campaigns, we have weekly touch points with our customers. And when we start the whole project, we'll agree what the customer's objectives are, and we'll advise them on what those objectives should be based upon what they can expect from digital advertising. And then we agree what good return on objectives looks like. Not return on investment, return on objectives. So what sort of return do you need from this campaign, and how will that influence your objectives or your ability to achieve those objectives? And then our guys will benchmark how their campaign's performing throughout, week by week. They'll benchmark how that campaign's performing against those objectives that we set. And indeed, they'll benchmark it against other similar campaigns with similar objectives on our site. And then they'll advise them on how they can make it better. Now, that might be that they need to change their messaging, so we'll help them change their messaging. That might be that they need to target a certain different group of people. We'll help them to do that. It may be that we need to optimise the campaign in different ways. It may be that it's working really well, and every week our customers accept a sales call from one of our salespeople, and if it's working well, we sell them more. What impact would this have, this high CTR that you're getting on this campaign, what impact would that have if we double the number of impressions, do you think? Well, would it double the returns? Let's give it a go. And so they're able to upsell consistently, and not upselling in a cheesy old sales way, but upselling actually by having a grown-up commercial sales conversation with our customers based around results. And we know whether these guys are going to renew or not as well, because we're in contact with them week after week. There's no basket of muffins sent out when renewal date's coming up anymore. We know these guys. We'll still send them a basket of muffins if there's any advertisers in the room. But we know whether they're going to renew or not because we'll have been working with them as an advertising partner throughout the entirety of their campaign, providing them with the results that they need and advice that they need and insights into how they can make their campaigns better and indeed go back to their companies and get more investment, which is what we all want, eh? Okay, so what has this led to? Well, this is all very nice and theoretical. It's actually leading to results. We've seen a dramatic increase in our renewal rates. We've seen a huge increase in our average order value. So huge that when I presented it to my CEO, she didn't believe me at first, which was nice. But we've seen a huge increase in our average order value. And it's not just the numbers that are saying that, our customers are saying that. 2 years ago, our customers said, we like you guys, here, have some of our budget. We think we should be with you. This is my favourite one. Our account manager at Lloyds List gave us expert advice and performance reports throughout our digital advertising campaign. Because of this service, we were able to confidently optimise our campaign and deliver great results. Digital advertising with Lloyds List is now an integral part of our marketing strategy. And I didn't pay for that testimonial. That came freely from a customer. So this is working for us. So I guess moving on to some of the takeaways, you'll take away what you think you should take away from this, if any of it's relevant. I hope you found it useful, but either way I hope you've enjoyed it, of course. I think the most effective digital salespeople in B2B focus on challenging and educating their customers. That's clear, it's not just me saying that, there's lots of research saying that as well. They lead with insight to open doors to particularly difficult customers. And they begin the education process from there. They absolutely have to know their audience. They need to know that if you want the best way to reach Greek ship owners is to in fact advertise on our app and to time your advertising at 6:56 in the morning, because that's when most of the Greek ship owners access our app. And they need to service and upsell consistently. Thank you very much. Open for questions.
I think that's great. I think what's really interesting is how digital media allows you to monitor the campaign all the way through. So there's a real benefit for the client in having a campaign that you can kind of tweak. And I guess the other thing that really stands out for me is the service levels that Fergus's team offer to their advertisers, both in terms of insight and in terms of optimising their kind of campaigns. So I think that's really interesting. But I guess you must have had a few print laggards, a few advertisers who, however clever your service, were not wanting to move across from print to digital. I mean, how do you deal with those?
I think with any migration, you're going to get people. Ultimately, the customers are going to make their own decisions. What we can do as a sales organisation is really ensure that they have all the information at hand and are being educated to come across with us. What we found, what's really interesting actually, is our largest advertisers have all moved. We've lost some of the long tail, some of the advertisers who might advertise in the one supplement we wrote about Malta somewhere. But when you actually look at the reasons for those guys advertising, they were advertising because they thought they should, not necessarily because they needed to. So we focused our efforts very, very much on the advertisers that absolutely need to advertise with us. And by and large, we've had fantastic feedback from this service that we've put into the market.
Okay, brilliant. Right, we've got some time for some questions from the floor. We've got a microphone.
Thank you. What would be an example of your best upsell, do you think?
I would say one of our customers who was doing, they were a consistent advertiser with us, but they were one of our smallest. And the rep who, the lady, I shouldn't say rep, that's very impersonal, the lady who's been working with that customer over the course of doing this, after years of them doing the same thing year in, year out and placing the same picture of a boat year in, year out in our publication, she's increased their spend by, what was it last year, 12.5 times, and she's taken it entirely digital. So it's an absolutely incredible, and that's just one example, but that's the one that really stands out for me because she did everything by the book. She's now one of our star performers after being someone who was struggling with the change, and she's turned into one of our star performers because she's adopted this service mantra, and she's adopted the fact that she needs to lead with insight, and she's turned around and she's stellar performer now.
Yeah, brilliant. There's another question over there.
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to get some clarification. You've talked a little bit about the importance of targeting local language adverts. So do you have different versions of your sites for different countries? Or are you talking about your app here?
Okay, no, that's a good question. So the website is the same, however you come to it. It's English language. What we found is our subscribers are more than happy to pay the £2,000 a year it costs to subscribe to Lloyd's list to read it in business in English. And in fact, actually, this research that was done shows that they were actually proud to be reading English language publications. It was the adverts that turned them off. So it's really easy, actually, for us to use the technology, the system that we use to serve adverts in Greek to those coming to our site from Greece, for example.
Okay, sorry, I'm being greedy. How much do you think the frequency of your title being a daily affected your decision to go digital? Because from my viewpoint, I can see it's a bit of a no-brainer because with daily content, it dates so quickly if you're sending it anywhere. And do you think if your model had incorporated weeklies and monthlies, that you would have kept print within your model structure somewhere?
I think the way that I'd approach this from an advertiser's perspective, or from an advertising perspective, would be that it's our responsibility as an advertising sales organisation to make sure that our customers' messages are where the audience is. So there are plenty of examples where print is still the right way to reach that market, less and less. particularly with the rise of mobile phones and tablets. We have, though, incorporated monthlies and taken those online only, and it's worked. We're finding that people are more, particularly in some of our more data-heavy publications, so these are very specialist publications, they can do more. And they're quite open to reading long-form articles online. I think there's... so it's not just news. And in fact, some of our most read... just even indeed in Lloyd's list, some of our most read articles are in fact our database articles where you can go in and manipulate the data yourself. They get huge dwell time and huge usage, and indeed some of our long form articles. So I think it's more about what your audience demands and how they use your service than necessarily the frequency of the publication, I say, from me.
Yeah, no, good question. Right, there's a question at the back there, and then there's a couple at the front, so keep going.
Hi. Did your sales team successfully all migrate to the digital way of selling, or were some of them still stuck in their ways and wanted to just sell print?
I was wondering if someone was going to ask that question. It was a bit I removed from my presentation for time. I'm pleased to say that the high-performing salespeople that we had when we started this process are still with us. And that paid real dividends, actually helping. These guys have years of experience with great relationships in the market, and they were able to use that kind of relationship, that brand that they'd built, to help implement some of the challenger sales traits and change the customer conversation. I think if we'd have gone in with a new sales team, a completely new sales team, firstly it would have been a really painful couple of years, it would have been horrible, but also it would have taken us longer to get the customers along on that journey, I think.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more question. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, in addition to the data you get from subscribers, what additional research do you carry out on a regular basis to gain such insights? We work on behalf of a membership group, and one of the problems we've got is that we don't actually have as much insight into those members as we'd like, because we don't hold the information, and we're not. It's not a lot shared with us actually. So if we have to do it all ourselves to find out.
Okay, there are a number of things that we've done. We do regular reader research, and that can be from 2 to 3 question surveys all the way through to much more in-depth, the more traditional B2B style reader surveys to find out buying habits. I encourage the sales team to ask a lot as well. There's plenty of stuff online which talks about habits that you can then look at how the wider market is using digital media, and therefore then look at your statistics and extrapolate that onto your statistics. But the best thing to do is ask the readers, I think. And there are some pretty easy software tools that we use to get surveys out there, which can give you some really, really quick responses. Yeah, that's right, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Without mentioning brand names, of course.
Okay, very last question, then we'll be chucked out.
Obviously, your sales team is spending more time with your customers. Mm-hmm. Did you need to grow your sales team to achieve that objective, or was the time already there?
Actually, my sales team is much smaller than it ever has been. We are spending more time focusing on the larger advertisers and increasing their spend, so there's less of the chasing around for the £200 advertisers. Which frees them up and actually gives them much more reward as salespeople, I think. And we've also, because of the way we've changed the targets, we've also given them time to adapt. So yes, they are spending more time with their customers. I pretty much lose my sales team for an entire Friday morning whilst they're fulfilling their patches demands. But what we get in returns far outweighs that Friday morning that they would have spent banging the phones to try and drag in an extra couple of £100 here and there. They're much more targeted in the way they approach new business.
Yeah, so that kind of shift from the small advertisers in print to fewer, bigger advertisers actually means the servicing effort is less.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And also, it's not that we ignore smaller advertisers, it's just that we focus our efforts when it comes to them in ensuring that they get the service so that they grow into the larger advertisers.
Yeah, and I guess it's only the really big advertisers that get the weekly calls. If we have a sort of tiered approach to...
Yeah, right. I would say right the way down until... We tend to do it down until just below our average order value in terms of that respect. So we do give it to the vast majority of our customers.
Yeah. Brilliant. Right, I think we're going to get chucked out. So Fergus is going to be here for a few minutes if you've got individual questions. But just want to say thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.